Although I'll get on a chat room every once in a while and I don't know. I wish Hillary would have won. Oh, please. Really. Pull your head out of your butt.
I don't get too into politics. Everyone just gets all riled up, no matter what side you're on.
Well,
conflict.
There's two things you're supposed to never talk about: politics and religion.
Yep. Yeah, those two I never bring up with Hitchhiking. Just because I don't follow them very thoroughly, so I honestly don't have much to add to the topic. If someone wants to talk about it, it's more them telling me their opinion to me, be like,
So on a national level, we don't really, it doesn't matter who you vote for, really, because it really isn't our elected leaders that run the country. It is the people that never stand election, the aides and the people behind the scenes. That's who really does everything. That's my opinion anyway. So, you can vote for whomever you want. It just doesn't really mean that much. I tell you the honest truth, I really kind of like the monarchy. I mean, you've got a sense of continuity there, and I don't know.
Monarchy is a ruling, or monarchy is just like in England, where like they've got their prime minister or whatever, but then they still have the monarchy there, and they're more of a status, or I don't even know what you call them, because they don't really make the laws or anything anymore.
No, they don't. I mean, they have a say, and she does have an opinion, and she does have to sign a heck of a lot of stuff.
And they have to sign, every time we sign a new law in Canada, has to get the Royal Commission, I think it's called. It's the Queen's signature. They'd never say no. Like, it's a formality at this point. They would be like, oh, you democratically decided to do this? But no, you don't get to do that. They would never do that. But it's still something that has to happen.
Yeah.
Which I think is just kind of funny, holding on to those old ways of doing things but why?
Yes, but there's tradition, and there's a pageantry that we just don't have. America really doesn't have a lot of pageantry. We just don't.
Yeah, I can see
that. And we are a country of arguers. We'll argue about anything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I'm not much of an arguer myself. I'll tell you my opinion on something, but if you want to really get, I'll tell you why I think that, but we're not going to debate the same point over and over again, saying the same things over and over again.
No, because people are going to have the opinion that they're going to have. Very seldom do you change anybody's mind.
It's like the debates on like the hot topics, like the abortion type stuff. No one's going to convince the other side.
No.
They have their way of thinking about it, and you're not going to sway them, I don't think. I haven't heard of many people changing their mind about hot topics like that. They believe what they believe, and it's going to probably stay that way. I have no interest in debating them about that.
I think the only political thing I have that I think I debate and put my foot down on is gun control.
Yeah.
I like my guns.
Yeah.
I hunt. I grew up with them. Just because there's 100 assholes doesn't mean that 50 million people should be held accountable for 100 assholes.
Yeah. I like guns too. Actually, the first time I ever shot a gun was day one of this trip. Day one was an interesting day. I told you about the guy. It was just kind of weird. But also the last ride of the day, he let me crash at his place. And when we got to his place, they showed me some of their guns, and they're like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, yeah, I've never shot a gun before. And they're like, well, do you want to? So since I've never shot a gun, they're just like, well, they took a 22 pistol and 22 rifle out. We went to some bluffs and clinked off a few shots. And they taught me how to handle it, which was important to me.
Yes.
If I'm going to handle handle something with the deadly potential like a firearm. I want to know how to handle it correctly, and they showed me. And it was a lot of fun, and I respect the gun. I have no problem with guns. And with hitchhiking, I get people all the time in the US here, and they've got guns on them, and I don't care. I had plenty of people be like, so why'd you pick me up today? And they're like, well, I figured if you tried anything, I'd shoot you. I'm like, okay, fair enough. I wasn't going to try anything anyway, so we're not going to run into this problem.
I picked you up because I didn't want to drive.
That doesn't happen very often. I've definitely driven for people. It's only ever happened in Canada. It's probably happened 5 or 6 times. And it was on very long trips, and we take turns driving. Drive for a few hours, swap off, drive for a few hours, swap off, drive for a few hours, swap off. But I've never had someone just pull me and be like, do you have a driver's license? Let's go! Which I love. That's some trust right there with someone you've never met before.
I'll be honest, I pray. Lord, if this person is going to be crazy, tell me not to stop. He didn't tell me not to stop.
You didn't get that message, so...
I didn't get that message, so... And I shot my first gun when, oh heavens, I was probably 8. My folks, my mom had a little .22 Bearcat, and Dad took us out and taught us, and he gave me my first gun when I was 12, and it was a little big for me. It was a .222. So when I was 13, he gave me a .22. And I did the same to my kids, and my 12-year-old grandson, I gave him a .22 for his 12th birthday. And I don't find anything evil in them, as long as you respect them, as long as you treat them as a you know, it's like a saw.
Yep.
If you disrespect a saw, you're going to lose fingers. What I like about shooting is I like the hand-eye control. I like being able to, the hand-eye coordination. I like being able to hit an egg off a post at 100 yards.
That's fun. And I'd love to do some more shooting. I grew up, I just didn't know anyone that really wanted to shot, so I was never in a position where I could, or there's an opportunity for that, and I never sought it out myself, just because I don't really have a reason. I just never sought it out. But I think now that I've done it, it's something that I would actually put a bit of effort into experiencing, trying out different guns, going to the range. It's satisfying. It's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
And we hunt, and we definitely eat what we shoot.
Yeah.
We don't just randomly go to North Dakota. We go there for the pheasant hunting.
Yeah.
We have pheasant hunting in Idaho. It's just not as much fun because there's not as many birds. I mean, to pheasant hunt in Idaho, you walk a lot for 2 birds. In North Dakota, you walk a little bit for 2 birds. And we have hunting dogs, and they're just an absolute pleasure to watch work. But yeah, I like elk, I like deer, I like moose is good.
Moose, I've only had moose pepperoni.
Really?
Yeah. 100 picked me up, and he's like, you want to try this with moose? I'm like, absolutely, I want to try this. Absolutely, I do.
Well, it was probably good, but...
Oh yeah, it was good.
A moose roast is really good. Moose steaks, moose burger, moose anything. It's real mild.
Yeah, because I can tell you what moose tastes like because I had it as a pepperoni stick with a bunch of spices and stuff in it, so that kind of overpowers the actual flavors of the meat itself. I've had some deer steaks before, I like those.
And when we lived in Wyoming, we used to get antelope and deer and elk. And we very seldom bought beef because the freezer was full of good stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to try more stuff like that, more game animals. I've been through hitching.
I have a multi-tool in my back, way in the back, and I have my Springfield here beside me. Part of the reason I started carrying the Springfield is especially after the accident. When I worked Rape Crisis all those years, yeah, there's a lot of bad people out there, occasionally, and where I'm kind of crippled up, I look like a target.
Okay. So what type of gun do you every day? Is it like an everyday thing that comes with you most places?
Yeah, I've got a 9mm Springfield XDM. I really like it. I'd put your camera down, but it fits my hand. I'm not particularly fond of the 1911, the Colt 1911. Everybody raves about those, but it's too big for my hand.
I see. Yeah.
So I like this 9mm. It fits my hand. It does well. I have a couple of 22 revolvers. I like those.
22 revolvers.
The one belonged to my mother. I inherited it from my mom.
Yep.
So that would mean something to me just because of the inherent value. I have a 1909 Winchester lever action.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a cool gun.
It belonged to my husband's great grandfather.
Yeah.
I've got a model 1917 Enfield that World War I.
Yeah. Does that lock you pretty hard? What's that? What caliber is that?
It's a 30-06, and I've never shot it.
Oh, okay.
My personal hunting rifle is an .06, but I had the stock cut down, and then I had a pretty good sissy pad put on it for me.
Oh yeah.
And then I put a muzzle brake on it.
Oh, I see.
And then I load my own shells, my own bullets. And I found out that you don't need a canyon crosser to shoot a deer.
Yeah.
So I downsized the load from what Carrie's granddad was loading them. And so it's a pretty manageable. My favorite gun is the one that Dad gave me when I was. Is that 222?
222, yeah.
It's well.
Is part of it sentimental, or it actually shoots really well?
Oh, it shoots really well. Like I said, I can hit an egg off of a fence post at 100 yards with it. And the bullet, I don't know if you've ever seen an AR-15. AR-15s are typically 223s.
Is that called a NATO round?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 222 is just a hair smaller than the AR. And no, AR does not stand for assault rifle. It stands for Armalite rifle.
I remember that toy.
Band. Cured as hell.
Oh yeah.
No kick to it. And had a heck of a time finding bullets for it.
Oh, what caliber?
It's a 25-20.
25. I've never even heard of that.
Right. And I found a box of shells at Cabela's.
Yeah.
And they wanted $80 for 50 of them. I about cried. So I got on the internet and I found original brass from Winchester, and I paid like $200 for 500 rounds.
It's not too bad.
And then I did my research and did my homework, and I found powder that will work with it, because the powder that I use for reloading the .06 and the 243 and the 222 is too hot for the old gun, so I had to find powder that replicates black powder, because they were still using black powder when it was made.
Yeah. That's cool.
And I've reloaded about 500 rounds for it, and for about 200 for the bullets and the powder, it came to about $250 for 500 rounds, as opposed to $80 for 50.
Yeah.
And it's fun to shoot. It is just it's fun.
Is the lever action smooth, or is it quite a
It's really smooth.
Yeah. I think that'd be really fun to shoot. It's something I would like to try. Something a gun like that.
I bought another one. bought a couple of years ago. I bought a 44 Magnum lever action to put in our Razor, so when we go into the backcountry, if we jump a grizzly.
Oh yeah.
And
you need a large caliber.
yeah. And the reason I went to the 44 Magnum is because we already own a 44 Magnum pistol, and the rounds that go into the pistol go in the rifle, and I don't have to reload extras.
Yeah.
And both my husband and I have 30-06, and most everybody that we hunt with has 30-06. So,
I think caliber.
yeah.
Large game.
Oh crap! I shot all my shells, and there's still deer, and I've missed all mine. Can I have some shells? You know. And that works. And when we go bird hunting, we all carry 12 gauge for the same reason. Okay, I brought one box of Prairie Storms and I shot them all. Can I borrow some? You know, it works.
Yeah.
But we're not what I call per se gun nuts. We have our hunting rifles, which is the .06s, and then we have our varmint guns, which my husband has a .243 and I have the .222, and then we both have .22 rifles.
Okay.
And then we have our heirloom guns, which is a .22 single 6 Ruger, and then the .22 Bearcat, and those are both revolvers. And then I have we have a Hawken Plainsman 54 caliber muzzle loader. That's a pretty gun.
54 caliber.
Yeah.
And that's a strange one as well.
Well, it's a black powder gun.
Yeah.
And that was pretty standard for the mountain men.
Yeah.
And it's hanging up on the wall, and then the Winchester's underneath it, and then underneath that is that Enfield, that World War I Enfield. And then I have a 12 gauge shotgun that my dad, when he came back from World War II, he paid $17 for it.
For a shotgun.
For a shotgun.
Can't get that for that much now.
Boy howdy.
More than that.
And it's hanging on the wall. My son-in-law shot it once. Says it kicks like a mule. I've never shot it. Didn't want to put my shoulder out of joint. You can see the lights from Vegas.
Oh yeah, you can see the light pollution. And yeah, Vegas would have a lot of it. Like, Vegas shouldn't really exist. It's like a huge place in the middle of nowhere.
It is.
In the middle of a desert, they have this metropolis.
And it's there for one reason.
Yeah.
It is kind of cool though when you come down in the valley.
Yeah.
And see it like this at night. It is kind of cool.
Yeah. I'm excited to check it out. I didn't think I was going to get anywhere near Vegas today. I was just going to hope for one more ride where you picked me up, and then wherever I thought it'd be another local ride, maybe like 20 to 40 miles, and then wherever that ends, we'll be like, all right, set up a camp for the night. Try again tomorrow.
So I'm assuming you have a sleeping bag and an air mattress, and you just
one-man tent.
Oh, okay.
Just walk out to the woods. Well, there's not many woods here, but walk out to the bushes somewhere and set it up. It's a nice neutral green color.
Yeah.
Which is hard to find in a tent, a consumer tent.
Yes.
Because for most people's purposes, you want your tent to be visible. You either want to be able to find your own tent, or given the situation, you want other people to be able to find your tent, like a search and rescue type thing.
Okay.
There's not many situations where you're camping recreationally that you want a discreet tent. So it's hard to find a green tent.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. So I love my tent, and I've slept hundreds of nights in this tent, and it's not what it used to be as far as weather protection goes. That's because I use and abuse it. I chuck it down in the woods anywhere. I'll put it down on rocks, on stumps, on roots. Well, not stumps, but roots.
If it leaks, camp dry. You can just get camp dry out of the
camp dry.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll have to do that, because there's just gonna be a few puncture points. You can't see them, see holes, but it leaks in on a rainy night.
Yeah, camp dry. I was at a motorcycle rally. I was by myself, and they called a meeting, and somebody said, "Where's Peggy?" Somebody else said, "She's painting her house." Because I was spraying my tent with camp dry.
The fly at the bottom and everything like that, it's all
Yeah.
good for that.
Yeah.
I'll have to get something like that. Because I love the tent and I don't want to replace it, and it's still fine except for that one small fact. That it leaks a little bit.
Been there, done that. Makes a good story.
Oh yeah. And then I puncture. I used to just use close-out foam, cheap like roll-up pads and stuff like that. But I've had a few inflatables because I work in the outdoor industry. I always puncture my inflatable pads. I set it down on some sharp rocks or down on some tall grass. I'm like, oh yeah, it looks soft. And you like set it down in the morning, put your hand down on your tent, you feel a prickle come up through your hand. You're like, okay, well, there's a hole in the footprint, a hole in my tent body, and a hole in my sleeping bag. You wake up like on the ground because it's deflated overnight. You're like, well, there goes another sleeping pad. And that's part of the reason why I always use cardboard for signs, etc. Because cardboard works as an insulating pad to get you off the ground. Homeless people know what's up.
Have you tried a Thermarest?
I have, yeah. I have a Thermarest at home. Right now I have an X-Bed, Downman 5. And I'm bringing it because it's actually the most packable one, but it's a down insulated winter weight thing, but it's my smallest sleeping pad. At home I have a Thermarest. What model is it? Thermarest.
I don't know. We have ones that are orange and ones that are green.
I should remember because it's my job to sell these things. Or one my job, I guess.
I like them.
Yeah, Thermarests are awesome. But yeah, the Thermarest I have, I didn't bring on this trip because it doesn't pack down as small as my X-Bed. And backpack space is important to me.
Why do we have flashing lights up here that are really dim?
Oh, just way up there, yeah, I see that.
I wonder if somebody's battery is going dead and they're just running their flashers.
Oh yeah, they are.
I've done that before.
That's pretty dim.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what our sleeping bag. I didn't bring in this trip because it's just too hot, but
I run a 32-degree bag. It's way too much on this, but when I started this trip, it was April in the Pacific Northwest, and we had some nights that went down close to freezing. So I brought it for the start of it. It's overkill right now, but it's a decent bag.
I think we've got some 40 below. I think they're Black Pine. I can't remember what brand they are.
I've got a -40 bag as well. Nice thing about -40 is you don't have to specify the unit because Celsius and Fahrenheit intersect at that point. So it's just -40 degrees is -40 degrees. But yeah, I brought that one on my Arctic hitchhiking trip. I made it to Inuvik, and it was early March. So it's still winter and everything's winter. And I camped out behind the Northmark grocery store at the very back of the parking lot. The nice thing about a sleeping bag is it has a waterproof breathable membrane on the outside so you can bivvy in it, cold climates. So I just set down my sleeping pad, set down my sleeping bag on top, and camped out looking up the northern lights in the winter in the Arctic in Canada. And I thought that was a really unique experience.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out why, but I think it was because they set off a space shuttle about that time. Because I was reading about the phenomena of what the space shuttle would do. As one night in June, the whole sky was orange. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and the sky is just orange all over.
Interesting.
And I went in and woke my daughter up while she wasn't asleep, and we sat out on the front step and talked. And looked at the sky and talked, and the Ritz left school, and she, bless her heart, she is one of those people that the only time she learns something is if she experiences it.
Yeah.
And she was the next day she was going to be on a 3 to 10 stretch at the gated community. Best thing that ever happened to her, actually. Hate to say that, but the Northern Lights, we'd take the snow machines out and ride at night. We'd ride up in somewhere, and then you turn the sleds off, and it's so quiet you can hear the snow fall. And yeah, and then sometimes we'd get the Northern Lights.
Yeah, you got them pretty frequently up there in Inuvik. But the best I saw were in Dawson City, Yukon. Man, were they bright, and it almost seemed like there's a bit of pink to them at times, at like the bottom ridge or something like that. I was like,
Really?
I don't.
I've only seen them in blue or green.
Yeah, I've only other than that, it's always been green. It's been green, but like, it doesn't seem like it's fully green. It seems like there's some. And I was with the guy that drove me there, and we're like, yeah, does it look kind of pink to you? Just the bottom ridge. It was mostly green. I'm like, there's something different about that. That was kind of cool. But yeah, that was some cold times there.
I'll bet.
Like, base temperatures in the mid-minus 30s was pretty common, but then as you go further up north, it's pretty flat, so the winds get ripping. So you'll have wind chills in the minus 50s, which is brutal. But I had the equipment I had decent equipment for that. The only thing that wasn't rated for those kind of temperatures were my boots, so I had to keep moving, otherwise my toes would get numb pretty much instantly, so I had to keep walking.
We've loaded up gear on our snow machines and gone back into BFE and camped in the winter. We're crazy. You know, though, it's like my sister said. One day I was kind of whining about hurting so bad and this and that and the other, and my sister said, "You've paid the price on some things, but you've lived richly."
Absolutely.
And I'm glad. I'm glad that the dash between the two numbers on my headstone is going to mean more than just, well, she got married, she had kids, and she cooked 365 meals a day.
No, you lived your life. You've been to a ton of places. You've had a ton of experiences. You've told me a million stories.
Sorry.
I love hearing these stories. It's so interesting to me. I don't know, your life experiences make you.
And
it's cool to hear.
I told some to my grandson when he was visiting this summer, and you know, some of them I told I probably shouldn't be telling you these stories because, you know, I don't know. One shouldn't be telling one's 17-year-old grandson about experiences on Bourbon Street.
They've inspired him. Ooh, that sounds like fun.
I hope not. Oh, I love New Orleans, though. Man, I could start on that town and eat my way across.
There was some good eating there. I passed through it. Shit, that was New Orleans was the last. I haven't hitched a flight in a long time. New Orleans to Monroe, Louisiana was my last hitched flight, and I haven't since then, and I'm sad. I've tried a couple times, but there's bad traffic, bad weather.
Yeah.
If there's no planes flying that day, well, you're not going to get very far.
That's the thing about being on a motorcycle trip, and you know, you're 3,000 miles from home. If the weather's bad, oh well. You know, you can't camp out until it gets better.
It's true. Have you ridden through? You're like, well, it's supposed to rain for the next week, so you gotta ride.
Hurricane Ike. Rode through Hurricane Ike.
Oh, that's a story.
That was stupidity.
Good times. Ride a motorcycle through a hurricane.
And got down to the Keys, and we wanted to get the picture of our bikes in front of that marker down there, and yeah, all the streets are blocked off and seaweed all over everything, and nobody was around. So we just rode our bikes to the marker and rode right up on the sidewalk, parked our bikes in front, and got the pictures. The cop come along, he says, "Do you want both of you?" "Okay." "Hand me your camera." "Okay."
I had on this trip subtropical storm Alberto. That's the worst I've got, which consisted of about rain when I was going through Florida. That showed up. It was really hyped up in the media though. Like, the first storm of the year. A bunch of places declared a state of emergency preemptively, preparing for it, and it was rain.
Whatever. Yeah, rain.
It was rain for 2 days.
We've well, you know what Kansas looks like?
I do.
It looks like this. On a motorcycle, because you've got to lean into the wind. We were coming across, was it Texas or Kansas on that one? Or Oklahoma? I think it might have been Oklahoma. The windstorm was bad enough it blew the semi in front of us over.
Wow.
That was a little intense.
Yeah, that's crazy. There's definitely some spots. You can see them on the road signs where, like, for whatever reason, it's like next to like a valley or something like that, and the wind gets funneled in there.
Mm-hmm.
Dangerous winds. There's one in Newfoundland near Port Austin when you first get into Newfoundland, and it's like the winds get to a certain thing, they close down the highways for any vehicle over X height or whatever, because they just kept getting blown over. High sides.
I-15 between DuBois and Idaho Falls gets closed.
Oh yeah.
A lot because of the wind, but it isn't because it'll blow it over. It's because when the farmers will plant, the dirt, you can't see through the dirt. It's just zero visibility because of the blowing dirt.
Yeah. I never thought about that.
There's been times on the bus I've been going, I don't want to be here. This is stupid. The last year I drove, the last spring, we had a pretty bad storm. And they called school and I was taking the kids. And I came into a stop and the wind was blowing so hard that when I stopped it just blew me sideways right off the road. Wow. And into the gutter. And within 10 minutes there were 3 of us stuck. I had to wait a while for the county to get around to pulling me out. And
they're pretty busy.
Yeah. And the kids had cell phones and they'd call their folks and they'd say, "Come and get us off the bus, we're here." Well, I opened my back door. I didn't even think about it. I opened my emergency door and the wind just grabbed it and just pulled it right off its stops. And yeah, okay. I love people, but Lord Almighty, some people are stupid. Some people are stupid. So this woman, she comes in, she pulls up nose to nose with me as I'm in the gutter. Yeah, before they can pull me out, they've got to pull her out. and my sister, so she pulls up to the school to unload her load of kids, and she had one mother pull up nose to nose with her, and the woman let her daughter out, and then she looks at my sister and goes, "Back up. There's 7 school buses behind my sister, and we're in the bus area, and you're not. So, how arrogant are you?" Okay, here's stupid. This is my favorite stupid person story.
Favorite stupid person story. All right.
So I'm doing an escort. I've got a funeral procession, and I go into an intersection, and I shut the intersection down. And you know, I've got lights and sirens on my bike. I shut the siren off, but my lights are all flashing, and I'm standing in the middle of the intersection. I see everything's stopped. So I tell the guys that are in the turning lane, "Go ahead and turn. There's no reason why you can't." And he points behind me, and I've got this guy coming across the intersection facing me. So I stand there, and I point to him, and I put my hand up like that. "Stop." He keeps coming. So I stand there with both hands. I put both arms up like this.
Yep.
"Stop." He keeps coming. So then I put my arms out in a cross pattern, and he's still coming, and he gets, "You don't want it put. Look." It goes like this. And I went around to the side his side window and I said, "Excuse me, sir, may I ask what you think you're doing?" "The light's green." "Yes, sir, I understand the light is green, but I'm directing traffic in this intersection. I did not tell you to go." "But the light's green." "Yes, sir, I understand the light is green. I have a funeral procession going through here. They have the right of way."
Yeah.
"But the light's green."
How does the law work on that? With funeral processions and directing traffic and stuff like that? Can anyone, do you need like a license for that to be able to direct traffic on whatever state roads? Or is it kind of just an accepted practice?
We were issued uniforms and cars with lights and sirens.
Okay.
They've almost quit doing those anymore because of the population density now.
Yeah.
So usually what happens is that the hearse puts a bubble light on, and the hearse is allowed to go through the lights.
Yeah.
And whatever people, they have the right of way. But most people will stop when the light stops, even if they're in the procession, because they don't understand the process. So we would work in pairs. One of us would break the intersection. You'd go in and you'd stop traffic and you'd stay there and until the procession went through, to keep people from cutting in and crossing and keeping the procession moving.
Yeah.
And then you get to go 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. So now you're on a motorcycle and you're white lining it up between oncoming traffic and the procession beside you. That's an adrenaline rush. Anyway, and then you get up in front and do the same thing at the next intersection, while one person stays strictly in front of the procession.
Yeah.
So that if you can't get to the next intersection, they will go up and break it and get people stopped and then proceed. But in the state of Idaho, a funeral procession has the right of way.
Interesting. Okay. Because I saw one. Where was that? Oh, Savannah, Georgia. And I honestly hadn't seen. I don't think I'd seen any like just funeral processions like that where they're stopping traffic and going through. Everyone looks really confused. What's going on? Why are we all stopped at a green light?
Yeah.
When I was pedestrian, so I just stared, waited for it to go by, and continue on with my life.
A lot of people still know. What's interesting is the old timers, the farmers and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll pull off to the side of the road and they'll take their hat off and wait for you to go by. And then you get the people that don't have a clue.
Yeah.
You just deal with them the best you can. And then we'd get to the cemetery and we'd make sure that if they were crossing traffic, that we would block the lanes so that they can all pull into the cemetery rather than fighting traffic.
Okay.
I had a train stop for me once. I thought that was really cool.
A train.
Yeah, trains have the right of way.
Yeah.
The funeral procession stops for the train, but I actually had a train stop for me one time.
Interesting. It takes a lot to stop a train.
Well, he was switching cars, so he was already going slow. And I stopped the procession, figuring he'd go ahead, and he tooted his horn once to get my attention, and I looked over at him, and he said, "Go ahead." So I did.
There you go. You stopped a whole train.
I stopped a train. Man, I'm so melting. I enjoyed that job. I said, give you lights and sirens and tell you can go faster than traffic. Oh, darn. And I liked doing it on the bike because I could go in between.
Yeah.
I could lane split with the cars, get into the intersections easier. I didn't like doing it in the car so much because to get to the intersection, you'd have to go to the oncoming traffic lane to get around them. And,
Oh, I see.
dumbest thing I ever did on the procession, right? So I'm pulling. It is a fairly busy street. Two busiest intersections in Idaho Falls, right? So I wheel into the intersection and the lights going and the sirens going. And it was a really busy intersection, so I left my siren on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Kawasaki that I was riding, they have really weird kickstands. I put the kickstand down, but I didn't set it. So I get off and I start shutting the intersection down, and I hear this crunch. And I turn around, there's my bike laying on its side in the intersection with the lights and sirens still going. Here's a dumbass, look at this. Okay.
But that hurts whenever you drop the bike.
Oh, it was, yeah, my pride was a little damaged. The easiest way to pick up a big bike is you can't muscle them up. Criminy, they weigh too much. So what you do is you back up to it and you turn the front wheel and you grab the handlebars here, you grab the oh shit handle back here, put your butt in the seat, and then just stand up, back your feet up, and then stand the bike back up.
Interesting.
And then you don't give yourself a hernia trying to raise it.
Yeah. Never thought about how to lift a heavy motorcycle before. Never had these problems.
It's a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
There's just different things.
It appeals to me, but I'm learning. See, now I'm going in not completely blind.
Good.
But someone here that's had a whole lot of experience with that lifestyle.
Well, if I could offer you a word of advice, don't go get the bike of your dreams.
Start with something small and work your way up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get something small used in Japanese.
Yeah.
Because the parts are cheaper.
Okay.
And it isn't a matter of if you drop your bike, it's a matter of when.
I get it, yeah, okay. Also, so I think we're getting pretty close to Vegas, aren't we?
Pioche, I think.
Yeah. I think I saw Vegas 37 5 miles ago or something.
Okay. Well, there's a gas station. What is it? It isn't a Pilot. Oh, what is it? It's got a green sign. I can see it. Let me think.
Yeah, I'll be getting out in Vegas. I don't know if you just want to stay on the interstate.
I'm going to stay on the interstate, so.
Alright, I'll figure out something from
So if you want to, if you want to park company at the gas station, that's all good.
okay. Yeah, if there's like a Pilot or something, whatever one's closest to the Vegas area, and I'll figure my way in from there.
It isn't a Pilot. It's a Petro. Yeah. And it's kind of by the racetrack, so. Oh, believe me, when we drop into the valley, you'll know.
We'll know? Okay. I'm pretty excited.
You know, we were talking about experiences in bikes, but and the Northern Lights, you were telling about that, and that's a profound experience. One of the most profound experiences, first time I think I had on the bike, is the first trip we were going on. We were up by Choteau, Montana, and it was early in the morning. The sun wasn't up, but it was light, and I had to commune. And there's not a tree, a stick, a stump, a bush, anywhere.
Yeah.
So I walked out into this grain field far enough. I figured, if they see anything now, like whatever. And I looked around me, and I was surrounded 360 degrees by nothing but wheat fields and sky. And it hit me. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain. And I think that's when I learned that everything, everywhere, has something to offer as far as beauty goes. It may just be a little different. You might have to look for it rather than having it slam in your face.
I might do there. Not every state, but almost every state I go, the people that watch the live stream that I make, they're like, their state sucks. It's got nothing. Why are you going to that state? There's nothing there. You should skip it. And there's beauty everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Beauty everywhere. You just Sometimes you have to look a little harder, like you just said. Some places are just inherently beautiful, and the other ones you have to look for it a little bit. Oh, there we go.
You're in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Everybody knows the king.
Yeah. We're in the middle of nowhere, not much going on, civilization-wise. Come over this hill, boom, there's a city.
Mm-hmm.
Square in the face.
And construction. I like the way they do road construction in Canada. I really do. Wish they'd do it here. When we were going up the Alcan, I noticed that they would start, and the guy up in the front, they would be ripping up the old pavement, and then they'd recycle it. Then the next guy, and they would resurface, like in this, instead of blocking off 10 miles of one lane. And I hate. And then they come along with a sweeper and sweep up the gravel, and yeah. I like Canadian road construction much better than Idaho.
Yeah.
Or American.
It's probably going to depend on where you're at in Canada. Some provinces have much better road maintenance than others. I guess BC.